All right, guys. All right. Are you serious? Are you serious? I've been drinking some coffee. And I realize also that you got to drink a lot of water too, guys. Stay healthy. Stay healthy out there, okay? That's for sure. Well, we're going to talk about the Pope, the President, Biden, Pope Francis, and President Emmanuel Macron. What are the odds that Biden would meet with the Pope and then Macron the same day? Before other meetings, of course, with other many leaders. Dr. Irvin Baxter, let's put it this way. He had his eye on Emmanuel Macron. He would say this to me every time we got together. He'd say, Paul, keep your eye on Emmanuel Macron and whoever the current Pope is. Let me just put a shout out real fast if I could, guys, if you don't mind, to healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. Collagen. It's tasteless, it's odorless, but you'll be ageless, okay, with multi-collagen by BioTrust. Just go to www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. One scoop in the soup or put it in the coffee or whatever it is you're eating. It will help enhance, revitalize that collagen in you because our collagen is depleting with age, okay? This is not human collagen. Never would I endorse that. Instead, this is plant, fish, and egg collagen. Very healthy, very natural, very good for you. Just go right now to www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. All right. So, all right. President Biden doesn't have time yet to get to the border, but he did go to Europe and to meet with some of the world leaders. And let's talk about that because Pope Francis, it's like nothing ever happens in this world until somebody gets the blessing from the Pope. And recently, certain world leaders have been going to Vatican. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go. I actually think that all world leaders, should at some point. I mean, I would say certainly every president ends up meeting the Pope. Donald Trump met the Pope. Every president meets the Pope. It's customary. It's respectful. It's part of what you got to do. You got to meet with everybody. I mean, sometimes you meet with your friends and sometimes you meet with your foes. Everyone has to talk to people, even if you're not getting along. So I'm not knocking that at all. But what I am saying is that interesting that he met with the Pope and then went straight over to meet with Macron, especially in lieu of Bible prophecy, because of the connections you can read. Matter of fact, if you read Revelation chapter 13, that's the chapter, of course, of the rise of the beast kingdom, the new world order, the one world government that has to form. It includes a one world leader, but also a one world spiritual leader, what's called the false prophet. So the false prophet and the Antichrist have to work together. So religion and politics will work together, no matter what anyone says. They are going to be. It don't matter what anybody says about it. Religion and governments will work together. They always have. And of course, the Pope of Rome has endorsed or has blessed many countries' world leaders throughout about 800, 900 till about, for almost 1,000 years. They had to put their blessing on it. So this is a very important meeting. But here's the strange thing about this meeting. The media was supposed to be allowed to go in with Biden. The American media that traveled all the way there, they were supposed to get the pictures, and the Vatican said that the meeting with President Biden and Pope Francis was going to be covered live on Vatican TV. For the whole Vatican TV was going to cover it live. But 10 minutes before the meeting, the Vatican announced that Vatican TV was not going to air the meeting. And all of the U.S. media was left out in a courtyard by themselves. And only Italian media was allowed in just to get the pictures. But when President Biden went into a secret chamber with Pope Francis, no one else was allowed except those who were dictating and keeping the notes. No one. And no one knows what was discussed. Nobody knows what for 75 minutes, what the two most powerful men in the world, the President of the United States and the Pope of Rome, that is the two. One represents the leader of all the governments, and the other one is considered the leader of all religions. Not that they all follow him, but he has, you got Billy Graham, and you have your leaders of different, you got imams, and you've got Buddhists, and you've got the Dalai Lama, and you've got the Pope of Rome, and you've got Billy Graham, who's gone now, and spiritual leaders. But when you talk about the most powerful spiritual leader with the most money, the most prestige, the most history, what have you, on the planet, it is the Pope of Rome, whoever that Pope is, and the President of the United States, whoever that president is. Those are the two highest offices, the two most powerful. More things get approved and done there. Whatever went on in that 75 minutes, folks, is going to reshape the earth. It's going to change the world over the next 3 years. I want you to watch very closely what we see develop. We already can see this push for communism, this push for climate change, to use carbon, worldwide and international taxes, international courts, international governance, socialism, communism, totalitarianism. We've watched in our own country as things have just running over top our Constitution. It's going on in Australia, going on all over Europe. It's going on everywhere. People are just being told, it don't matter what your Constitution says. It don't matter what you think your rights are. Here's what we're going to do. And then there's China, the China factor, who's been doing that for over a century. They've been communists for over 100. This is their 100th year as communist China. And they have been browbeating the Chinese people for 100 years. And now they're going to expand that. They're looking straight at Taiwan, Japan, others in the South China Sea, and certainly the United States. Let me read some things that went on in the meeting, what we're allowed to know. But I'm asking you, what do you think? I mean, you can leave your comments below, but what do you think? Did they discuss in that 75 minutes? Because I can tell you, whatever was discussed, if they're not going to let us know, only thing that Biden's going to tell us is the Pope said he was a good Catholic and go ahead and keep taking communion, despite the fact some of the conservative archbishops and cardinals and priests are saying no, he can't take communion and support abortion. It's just, you can't. The Pope says, go ahead and take it anyway. Don't listen to them. Which that just brings serious division within the church. Well, let's find out what's going on here. So that should be your first clue. Wow. And then he went straight to see Macron, which blows my mind. But anyway, here's the deal. Biden seeks diplomatic advances on his first day of a marathon foreign trip. It was not done with a lot of grace, but Biden says that the submarine deal with Australia that angered France was a little clumsy, to say the least. Biden said Pope Francis told him he can continue to receive communion despite what those U.S. bishops are rift they have with him as it relates to abortion rights. So in other words, Pope Francis sides with Biden against over half of the Catholic archbishops, cardinals, and priests. He sides against the rest of the church. Huge, huge division he brought right there. Biden is met with Italy's prime minister, who also is going to the G20. The G20 summit is being hosted in Italy. So Biden has already met with him. But of course, it was all about going to see Macron as well. It's good to be back, he told the Vatican, relishing a meeting with the Pope. And also, he said, with world leaders, he is set to gather at the COP26 climate summit Francis calls for radical action on climate change. So the Pope is pushing climate change, new world order, one world monetary system, and is leading everyone toward a one world religion as he keeps bringing all the religions together to try to create some type of common ground. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to do that, but anyway, with his domestic agenda in limbo, President Biden sought better results on the foreign front on Friday, beginning yesterday with a 5-day diplomatic marathon with a series of meetings that addressed personal and political priorities. After a week-long rift with America's oldest ally, Biden sought to smooth over relations with France after a very contentious submarine deal and build stronger ties with Italy, whose prime minister is emerging as heir apparent to Angela Merkel as the political leader of Europe. Here we go. And this is what Dr. Irvin Baxter told me. He said, Merkel will fade and Macron will rise. And he said, keep your eye, Paul, on Emmanuel Macron. And in my last meeting with Dr. Irvin Baxter, he said to me, I'm telling you, keep your eye on Macron. And he received a positive review from Pope Francis, who he said had called him a good Catholic who should continue to receive communion despite the objections of the U.S. bishops, archbishops, cardinals, and priests in the United States who want to deny President Biden the sacrament because of his abortion views. Biden's next stop will be Group 20 Summit. Now, we do know this. In the 75-minute meeting between President Biden and the Pope, they did not discuss abortion. It was off the table, okay? Biden's next stop will be at the Group 20 Summit, where leaders of the world's largest economies will confront supply chain problems, all right? Then he goes on to meet in Scotland for the COP26 Worldwide Summit on Climate Change that could be a make or break moment to save a warming planet. I'm going to tell you right now, mankind's not going to save the planet. Only Jesus Christ can save mankind and the planet. It's not going to be the carbon tax. Anyway, the president began his day at the Vatican, where he met with Pope Francis for 75 minutes. Because the meeting was private, and that was decided 10 minutes before the meeting, and the Vatican refused to confirm the details beyond just the news release, which was this. Biden said the Pope told him he's a good Catholic and that he can continue to keep taking communion. Now, later in the day, he went straight from there to meet with President Emmanuel Macron of France, who has been furious with President Biden's administration since the United States cut a secret deal last month to provide Australia with nuclear-powered submarines, leaving France holding the bag empty-handed and missing out on a multi-billion-dollar agreement to provide Australia with only just conventional submarines. The nuclear submarines deal is with the United States. That was a little clumsy, Biden acknowledged. We could have handled that better. Macron retreated for a private meeting with Biden, said, I have been under the impression long before that France had been informed. So Biden saying, I thought France already knew. I was given the impression that these guys knew. Macron, who was demanded concrete actions, not just diplomatic niceties, to repair this breach, called it an extremely important clarification. And he said, now what's important is to be sure that such a situation will not be possible for our future. Between his meetings with the Pope and Emmanuel Macron, Biden went also to the home of Italy's prime minister, and then he met with Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. And so this leaves Macron politically embattled, but maybe emerging as the leader of Europe. But it could be that the president of Italy could find himself vying for that position. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he will at all. Biden will now bring his own priorities and political needs to the Group 20 Summit, whose other participants facing enormous challenges of their own will do the same. And many of them want concrete changes on issues like international tax shelters and getting the virus to jab to low-income countries, even as they struggle to make progress on other threats like carbon emissions. So, look. Here's the bottom line. Biden has to patch up the blunder that he did, which it wasn't a blunder. I mean, they just went ahead and stole the deal away from France, and the United States did the nuclear deal to build the nuclear submarines for Australia, and France got left building the cheap things. Okay, France wasn't happy about being burned and left out of the deal, but Biden is going over there saying, "Look, we're sorry. It's a little clumsy. I thought you guys knew." And Macron is saying, okay, now that this has been clarified, let's just make sure this never happens again. At the same time, Macron is trying to rise up to become the leader of all of Europe, while the Pope of Rome is the spiritual leader who's pulling everybody together. We're seeing now the development of a one world government with the heads coming together. And if you notice, what is their number one topic? It's climate change. It's carbon tax. It's worshiping of the earth. It's what the Bible said. They will worship the creation more than the creator. Okay, and so we're watching this develop. So keep a close eye on this, because I think it's very, 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 very important prophecy alert that the President of the United States, the Pope of Rome, and then the president met with the leader of Europe, Emmanuel Macron. This took place in one day. I think this is a very significant moment. And so we'll keep an eye on what comes. Now the question is, what comes out of that? Listen, folks, several leaders have already went to meet the Pope for lengthy conversations. This has already been happening. But I want you to know something. Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Grove, have had major meetings earlier this year, and implementation of these certain things we've been watching, some of the mandates around the world, they are coming out of these meetings. Now you have what looks like phase 2. We're getting ready to go into phase 2 of a more tightening down on the populace. As the food is running out, people are going to turn on each other, and then they're going to turn with desperation to the leaders of the world. How are we going to get the food and the things we need? And it's going to be, this is where I think you're going to see the beast kingdoms coming together, and then we're going to be all of this, and somebody is going to emerge. Somebody's going to rise up with the answer for everything. Who could it be? Is it one of the world leaders that are already there? I don't think so. I think it's somebody from this private sector, from one of the big kings, the big giants. Maybe it's the leader of the banking industry. Maybe it's somebody from the European Union. Maybe it's somebody from the United Nations. Maybe it's one of the big tech giant CEOs. Maybe it's somebody from the military, very high-ranking military brain that we don't even know about. Maybe it's somebody from the distribution, that has to send all the food. Everything has to go through that. Maybe it's Amazon. Maybe somebody rises up among the big guys, the Blue Origin and SpaceX and these guys, because we have a world now that's tied to distribution of everything, and calculation of everything is being done by AI technology. Maybe the beast itself is a man, but the image of the beast is an AI D-Wave computer system that can manage everything and solve all of it instantaneously by letting AIs study all the people of the world, how many people are everywhere, how much food do we have, how can we have it processed and distributed. Let's take it. They may take it right out of the hands of private and put it into the hands of a governmental system, a one world governmental system that will fail miserably. But something's about to break, folks. It's called the Great Reset. Trust me, Something's about to break, and you're starting to see this prophetic gathering. You're beginning to see the gathering. Is this, it almost feels like that the carcass, the decaying, decomposing carcass is drawing the buzzards together. I'll be back with more. Give your life to Jesus Christ. We're running out of time. Are you saved?